First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Macie Goldfarb.
And I'm Brenna DeLong. Thanks for joining us. The President and Vice President are celebrating the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the U.S. Supreme Court. Today, Judge Jackson spoke about her family and her Miami roots at a White House event. NBC's Alice Barr reports from Washington.
United States Supreme Court, the Honorable Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Celebrating history today in the White House Rose Garden with the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the U.S. Supreme Court.
It has taken 232 years and 115 prior appointments for a Black woman to be selected to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States. But we've made it.
Of the past 115 justices, only 5 have been women, just 3 people of color. For President Biden, this moment fulfills a campaign promise.
It's a powerful thing when people can see themselves in others.
Judge Jackson will be sworn in after Justice Stephen Breyer retires this summer. She clerked for Justice Breyer, graduated from Harvard Law School, and once served as a public defender. Today, giving a shout out to her high school,
Miami Palmetto Senior High School,
where proud students watched and cheered.
To know that she was in the exact same place as I am and she made it up there gives me hope for my future.
Judge Jackson stepping into the role of role model, reflected in her own daughters and her own history.
In my family, it took just one generation to go from segregation to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Promising to approach critical cases from religious liberty to voter discrimination
without fear or favor.
A soon-to-be Supreme Court justice vowing to uphold this country's rule of law as she advances its history. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits hits a record low not seen since 1968. The Labor Department reported that jobless claims fell by 5,000 to 166,000 for the week ending on April 2nd. After a series of adjustments, the 4-week average of first-time claims is also down to 170,000. However, the job market continues to suffer from a severe deficit of workers. There are about 5 million more employment opportunities than available workers, a situation that has driven up wage inflation.
Would you like to have access to medical care the next time you go to the grocery store? If yes, listen to this. Walmart has opened 2 health centers in the state this week. On the screen, you can see the location of new centers and their opening dates. For Gainesville residents, Jacksonville would be the nearest. 3 more health facilities are expected to open up by June 7th, and at least 4 more in the Jacksonville area. Orlando and Tampa areas set to open in 2022.
An Alachua County farmer worries about dangerous chemicals in weed killers that can cause cancer. WUFT's Richard Mason explains how the growing concern could affect the community.
Chickens, pigs, and cows are what you will find at Swallowtail Farm in Alachua County. The 28 acres of alternative agriculture known as biodynamic farming has become home for Muller's family.
We don't add any chemicals to our process, and I think one of the myths is that that's necessary in order to successfully grow food.
Muller thinks of their land as one body that sustains itself through the natural process of fertilization. This healthier approach to farming is what they call better than organic.
Swallowtail Farm encourages sustainability and fine land stewardship. One promise they make, though, is that chemicals like glyphosate, commonly found in Roundup, won't be found in their land and won't be found in their food.
A 2019 study showed exposure to glyphosate increased the risk of cancer by more than 40%. However, President of the Masters Lawn Care, Rusty Thompson, believes farmers benefit from using glyphosate.
If you don't have a weed control or a pest control product that can help them control, our food source dives down a lot.
According to Bayer's website, Roundup's parent company, they claim glyphosate has provided safe and cost-effective weed control.
It's just a poison that's not necessary, and I think that there's been a lot of attempts to kind of minimize the damage that it's caused.
Regardless, Mueller and her family intend to continue farming their way. Richard Mason, WUFT News.
Swallowtail Farm hosts agritourism events like farm-to-table dinners for guests to learn more. Thanks, Richard. Across the South, tornadoes have ripped through the region for the better part of 3 or 4 days now.
In Georgia, the governor has declared a state of emergency. Yesterday, Central Florida saw damage after heavy storms arrived. The National Weather Service has not verified whether it was a tornado, but strong winds caused the roof of one home to be stripped off, landing on another home. Neighbors say no one was hurt. Gainesville has been lucky with the storms, and our 6-day forecast looks quiet. It was cooler and windy today, and that's something to keep in mind this weekend too. Saturday morning could start in the mid-40s and only get up to the 60s, despite plenty of sunshine. Sunday will bring a change, and we should climb back up to the mid-80s by Tuesday. The first private crew of astronauts has departed for the International Space Station. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket took off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida this morning. The Axiom Mission 1 crew consists of 1 astronaut and 3 civilians. If all goes as planned, the crew will arrive at the International Space Station Saturday morning, less than 24 hours after liftoff. They will then spend 8 days on board at the space station.
Hundreds of cars will fill the streets of downtown Gainesville this Saturday. The 5th annual Great Gainesville Car Show will be held on April 9th at 9 a.m. near Bo Diddley Plaza. Gainesville residents can enjoy old cars, local food, community vendors, and beautiful weather. The event is free for spectators. If you want to participate in the showcase, it's $20 per car and $10 per motorcycle. All funds raised from the event will benefit Noah's Endeavor, a nonprofit organization serving children with disabilities. William Volker founded the organization in 2010, 1 year after the death of his son, Noah.
We are a real not-for-profit for this community, so all the money raised in this community stays in this community. It doesn't go to big corporate and then come back. It stays here in the community and supports. Even I'm a volunteer. Nobody in my not-for-profit gets paid.
Between 2,000 and 3,000 people and more than 200 cars are expected this weekend. Volker said there are people from out of state who expressed interest in participating in the car event. For more information, visit noahsendeavor.org or the event's Facebook page.
A local skate shop owner is teaching weekly skating lessons to kids. WUFT's Julia Bauer has details on how these lessons provide a fun outlet for kids to build confidence.
Billy Rohan, former pro skater and owner of Samurai Skate Shop, shares his passion for skating with Gainesville youth.
You're standing, you're moving, you're 3 inches off the ground, but it feels like you're flying.
A dozen kids ages 7 to 13 attend his weekly lessons. He says skating helps kids develop confidence and make friends because of the sport's vulnerable nature.
When you're learning to skateboard, you're falling. You're falling all the time when you first start. And you're falling in front of each other. So that's like a great icebreaker where it's like, whether you think you're so cool or this or that, you've seen each other fall and it's funny.
Rohan says more people have been skating since quarantine when they had to find new ways to be active. He also says the Olympics played a role in the sport's popularity.
Skateboarding has increased in popularity since the sport made its debut at the Summer 2020 Olympics in Tokyo.
12-year-old Lyle Drake has been skating since he was 6 years old. He says perfecting the sport requires patience.
It takes time. So like if you're a beginner and you want to learn and you think you're quitting because you're not good enough, you just have to wait. And then your ollies will get good, then you can drop in, do whatever.
Lyle's father, Dirk Drake, says skating helps his kids have fun and release their stress.
They can go out for baseball, football, soccer, the true football, softball, and learn team sports, which are really important. But you can come here and learn yourself.
Rohan says skating forces kids out of their comfort zones and helps them have fun without being on their phones.
You can't skate with a phone in your hand. So it makes kids put the phone away for a little bit and actually enjoy playing and having fun.
He says it doesn't matter if you've skated before. Anyone can come out and learn. Julia Bauer, WUFT News.
We have much more ahead on WUFT News First at 5.
Notable figures in the nation's capital have tested positive for COVID. Also, Ukraine says Russia hit another civilian target. That story is coming up next.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
UF Ukraine held a vigil to commemorate the lives lost in the Russia-Ukraine war. Students, volunteers, and religious leaders gathered at Lake Alice, taking a moment of silence and sharing in prayer. Each participant was asked to light a candle to represent a symbol of life and of a soul that died. Russia has intensified its assault on eastern Ukraine. At least 39 people were killed and nearly 100 wounded in the attack in the city of Kramatorsk.
Now, we are in Bucha, where officials tell us they have just discovered a new mass grave in the shadow of a church. Now, officials say about 40 people, 40 bodies were found inside. They say they were all civilians and they all died a violent death. Going back to that railway station attack, the Russians have denied striking that railway station, but this is a hub. This was a transit point for the civilians, for women and children fleeing the violence of the east to try to get safely to the west. Molly Hunter, NBC News, Bucha, Ukraine.
3 months ago, members of a Texas synagogue were held hostage for 11 hours. Now, the congregation is reopening its doors. Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville will be celebrating the reopening of the synagogue, hosting several events over the weekend. The synagogue's rabbi, who was among those held hostage, said the last few months of repairs have allowed the community to heal. The armed suspect who died during the incident had taken the victims hostage, demanding the release of a convicted terrorist.
Daily cases of COVID-19 are back on the rise in the U.S., most notably in the nation's capital. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Attorney General Merrick Garland are among the Capitol's high-profile figures who tested positive for the virus. Pelosi was on stage with President Joe Biden during an event at the White House on Tuesday and on Wednesday at a bill signing. Senators Susan Collins of Maine and Raphael Warnock of Georgia have also tested positive. Both voted on the floor of the Senate before announcing their positive test later in the day.
Cases of the BA.2 subvariant of the Omicron variant are continuing to increase. According to data from the CDC, the variant now accounts for nearly 72% of all COVID-19 cases. The estimate is up from 55% a week ago when the subvariant became the dominant strain spreading across the U.S. The subvariant is said to be more contagious than the original strain of Omicron. Experts say this is no time to panic because cases still remain low nationwide, and there is no indication that the subvariant is more severe than the original Omicron strain. They also believe that it is unlikely to become a major threat due to the high level of immunity in the country from vaccines and previous infections. Coming up, learn about which artists will be performing at this year's Coachella.
We'll also take a look at repercussions Will Smith is facing after the infamous slap at the Oscars. That and more from our entertainment reporter after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
After 15 years, actor Jake Gyllenhaal is returning to host SNL this weekend. After a slew of first-time hosts this season, the actor returns for his second go-around. Gyllenhaal says he has come a long way since his last time on SNL and has learned a lot from his experiences. Now, the actor is preparing for the launch of his new movie, Ambulance, which hits theaters Friday.
With more entertainment news, here's our local reporter who will give you the latest on your favorite celebrities.
Hi, I'm Ariana Psarakos, and this is Entertainment Time with me, Ariana. Today, I'm going to give you a closer look at the new Coachella headliner and a new movie release. It looks like Billie Eilish did not apologize to Kanye West, and as a result, he pulled out of the music festival Coachella. Someone who is worth it and deserves it took West's spot. Did you guess who it is? It's The Weeknd. The Canadian R&B singer will headline Coachella alongside the Swedish House Mafia group April 17th and 24th. Music acts will include Harry Styles, Lil Baby, The City Girls, and Anita, to name a few. Coachella will take place at the Empire Polo Club in Indio, California from April 15th to 17th and April 22nd to 24th. I am so glad the movie theaters are open again and we can finally watch movies on the big screen. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is available in movies starting today. The movie is a live-action animated adventure which has already earned $6.2 million in preview screens alone. Idris Elba, Jim Carrey are some of the stars voicing the characters. Elba said he has been a Sonic fan since he was a little boy, and he was thrilled to have the opportunity of voicing Knuckles.
Been playing Sonic, since I was a kid. And here it was in this opportunity to bring Knuckles to life. It was definitely that sort of like, wow.
And before I go, I saved the most shocking news for last. It was just announced that Will Smith has been banned from the Oscars for the next 10 years. The Academy Board made the announcement and apologized for their handling of the situation. Will Smith will be able to return in the Oscars in 2032. I'm Ariana Psarakos, and that wraps up today's dose of entertainment news. Hope to see you next time.
I'm Peggy Cosgrove with sports. When we come back, find out how the Florida baseball team did in their SEC matchup against Arkansas last night.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. I'm Peggy Cosgrove with your local sports update. Last night, Gator baseball began another SEC series, this time against number 2, Arkansas. The Gators and the Razorbacks traded zeros in the first 3 innings as Hunter Barco and Connor Nolan engaged in a pitcher's duel. Barco left the mound at the top of the 6th, trailing 3-0. Florida let the game get away from them in the 9th inning as Arkansas scored 5 runs. Hoping to bounce back, Colby Holter kicked off the inning with a double to right center field. Shortly after, Sterling Thompson then drove in Holter with an RBI ground out to first base. Holter scored, but that was the only run for the Gators in an 8-1 loss. The teams play tonight at 6:30 p.m. and at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Turning over to softball, in a matchup of 2 top 10 teams, the Gators are hosting the Alabama Crimson Tide. The last time the Gators played an SEC series at home was against Tennessee. The Gators and Crimson Tide are both ranked at the top of the SEC in fielding percentage. While Florida leads in triples and stolen bases, Alabama leads with 1 more win on the board than Florida. Alabama defeated the Gators in their last matchup in 2021, 4-0. The series will kick off tomorrow with first pitch set for 5 p.m. The Florida Gators' annual Orange and Blue game is now less than 1 week away. The Gators wrapped up their 11th spring practice just yesterday. While fall is getting closer, the Florida football team seems to not only appreciate new head coach Billy Napier's guidance, but also seems to be adapting to the new structure well. Starting safety Rashad Torrance discusses how Napier expresses how important it is for the team to practice team unity.
Well, Coach Napier does express just being disciplined and together and being one, being a full team, whether that's all 3 phases, offense, defense, game changer. So, I mean, we kind of put our side of the ball aside and we come together as a Gator football team.
The Gators have only a couple more practices remaining before the spring game on April 14th. Kickoff for the Orange and Blue game is set for 7:30 next Thursday. Round 2 action in the Masters Golf Tournament continues today. Tiger Woods is drawing a lot of attention after a 1-under par first round yesterday. With this being his first real tournament in 17 months, Woods shot a memorable opening round 71 that put him just 4 shots behind the leader. With a win, Woods would get a 6th green jacket. At last look, Tiger was 3 over par. The leaders are going as low as 4 under par so far. Former Gator Billy Horschel finished his second round at +3. Right now, CBS is projecting both Woods and Horschel to make the cut. Opening day has arrived for the Tampa Bay Rays. Shane McClanahan was the first to take the mound for the Rays this season. There were some new faces in the opening lineup. For Tampa Bay, rookie outfielder Josh Lowe started at DH. Lowe was called up following the trade of Austin Meadows to the Tigers. Harold Ramirez, acquired in a trade during spring training, started at first base. At last look, the Rays and the Orioles are tied 1-1.
Thank you, Peggy. BBC World News is next, and the PBS NewsHour comes up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.